Okay. All right. So, good morning, everybody. And this is so awkward doing this in front of a camera. Okay, so we'd come in, and the schedule I have up, which is whatever, they'd be coming in from sensory time between math and reading so that they get a little bit of a break. And we would come in, and we would start the lesson by, I would have everybody catch a bubble, catch their learning bubble and their attention bubble, where you breathe in, and it's mindfulness, deep breathing to get them settled. And then I would direct them that when they were done catching their bubble, to blow their bubble out with their hands on the table, just to get them in teaching form, learning form. And I'd say, good morning, guys. So, all right, now that we're all ready to learn, I want to show you guys a clip. And in this clip, I went on vacation over the summer, and I had an adventure. And I'm not going to tell you what that adventure was. We're going to watch the clip. It's just a 30-second clip. And I want you to pay close attention. And at the end of the clip, I want everyone to see if they can guess what my adventure was, what I did. I'd play the video, and then we would come back, and I would take guesses and just kind of get prior knowledge of whether or not they have reference of what an actual zip line is and things like that. And it just kind of connects me personally with the kids as well. So the title of our story, what I want you guys to do, I have your reading binders on the tables, on your desks. I want you to open up to the last passage that I've put in your binders. So the story that we have today is a rainforest ride. Our characters are Kay and Martinez and their mom and dad. And in this, they go on a zip line ride over a rainforest. Now, a zip line, this is what one looks like. So a zip line is a cord that you slide down, and you're strapped into what's called a harness. And this is a picture of a harness. What do you see and what do you notice in these pictures? And I would take comments, questions, just to let them kind of think it through. All right, who can tell me what our title is? If we're looking at the first page, who can tell me what our title is? And then I would take that answer, and then who are our characters, and then what do we know about a rainforest? And I normally have cards. Each child has a card where it's like a pink on one side and a green on the other to help with, are we ready? Are we ready to go? Are we where we're supposed to be? Things of that nature. And they can hold those up for if they want to answer or if they agree with the answer given, things of that nature. So we would talk about the rainforest, and I would get their opinions and their ideas about what their knowledge is of rainforests. So we've been learning how to find character personality traits. So what are some personality traits? And I'd take feedback and give feedback in the manner of, that's a great idea, that's a great guess, that's, great input. Even if it's a wrong input, correct those inputs, but give positive feedback as well. And then we'd go into how to find personality traits, and we would review. So when we got ready to do the reading portion, it says, let's read to find Martinez personality traits. So the way, I know that it just says Martinez here, but the way that I set it up by looking at the discussion on the next page, each of those groups have those different cards of characters. So my direction to them would be to silently read. I would read the first page to them, and then they would silently read to themselves the second and third page. While they're reading that second and third page, I would be walking around, making sure that I'm connecting with the ones that normally have trouble or struggle. Those groups would be grouped in multi-tier students, so that it's not just we have lower performing and then higher performing, just to give a good rounded communication in each of those groups. The directions would be for them to silent read, and when they're done, to flip their card over to pink. And that way I know who's done and who's not. And they can silent read or they can whisper read into their hand. The whisper reading, it vibrates back and it's easier for them to hear. It actually kind of amplifies it for them. And once we finish the silent reading, I would direct them to talk amongst their groups so that they could each of their different characters, they would pull out their cards for the group and they would go through and highlight as a group in each of their texts to highlight their character and to discuss as a group what character traits they found in those characters. So after, I would give them 3 to 5 minutes to do that. And then I would direct them to come back to center so that we could address the discussion questions. So I would say, so the group A that had Kay's mom, why does Kay's mom ask if the zip line is safe? And we would get feedback on all of those. And then what does this tell us about Kay's mom's personality traits? And then we would go to group B. And we would ask the questions, what does Martinez do as he rides the zip line? What is Martinez's personality trait? And what in the story makes you think that? In those moments, so when we pull from both of those, at the end of each of those groups, I would go back and say, now who can tell me what part in the story exemplifies that? Where they reference back to the text, so that I can see that they have read the text, and I would have them underline in that text, and I would exemplify that on the board. I think I wonder. So after we got done introducing, I'm sorry, I'm skipping around. After we got done introducing both of these and discussing that, before we started reading, we would do I think I wonder. And their responses I would write on the board. And I think I wonder is just a way to get them thinking before they even read, like to infer what might happen, or things that they're curious that they think might happen, or questions they have about ziplining or the rainforest or anything like that. It's just a way to get them thinking. At the end of the lesson, after the group discussion, the direction would be for them to use the Post-it notes that are in their baskets for their exit ticket to write their name at the top and list 3 personality traits of their own, traits that they feel they have very strongly. And then when they're done with that, for them to post it in our parking lot, to park their exit ticket in the parking lot. And that when they were done with that, lunch is the next thing on the daily schedule for them to go and get once they've posted that, for them to go and get their lunchbox and sit quietly on the rug. And that's pretty much it. I don't know if that's exactly what you guys were wanting. It felt a little weird doing it this way. I feel like I planned it out more as sounding like a role-played lesson in my head when I was doing all of this. But I hope this is good.